The gentle sound of sweeping popcorn and wiping down armrests had replaced the roar of motorcycle engines and the crash of breaking glass 25 years ago. But Marcus Steele, Washington, still moved through the movie theater with the fluid grace and heightened awareness that had once made him one of Hollywood's most sought-after stunt doubles. Marcus, 70, sat in the third row of the Tonight Show studio, his stuntman's trained eyes automatically assessing safety exits and structural hazards, while his still powerful hands moved in unconscious precision grips on his lap. The small Cineplex Theater 25 years service badge on his janitor's uniform caught the studio lights as he adjusted his position with the controlled movements of someone who had spent decades calculating risk and executing dangerous physical feats. To the thousands of moviegoers whose theater experiences Marcus had maintained over 2.5 decades, he was just another dedicated custodial worker who somehow moved with unusual athleticism and had an uncanny ability to prevent accidents before they happened. What they didn't know was that their movie seats were being cleaned by a man who had doubled for Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Wesley Snipes during the golden age of action cinema. What Marcus didn't know was that his story had been quietly circulating among film industry professionals after someone had recognized him in a theater industry newsletter featuring essential workers who keep cinema running. The photo had caught the attention of stunt coordinators and action directors who remembered Steele Washington as one of the most fearless and skilled stunt performers of the 1980s and early 1990s, before he mysteriously disappeared from Hollywood. Marcus's story had begun with natural athleticism and a complete absence of fear that had driven him from high school sports to professional stunt work in an era when computer-generated effects were primitive and real human beings performed the death-defying sequences that made action movies spectacular. Born in Detroit to parents who worked in auto manufacturing, Marcus had shown exceptional coordination and fearlessness from childhood, excelling in gymnastics, martial arts, and motorcycle racing before being discovered by a Hollywood stunt coordinator who recognized his rare combination of physical ability and mental toughness. After moving to Los Angeles in 1978, Marcus had trained with legendary stunt professionals who taught him that being a stunt double required more than just physical courage. It demanded technical precision, safety awareness, and the ability to make impossibly dangerous actions look effortless on camera while protecting both himself and the expensive actors he was doubling. Over 17 years, Marcus Steele Washington had become one of Hollywood's most respected stunt performers. He doubled for major action stars in blockbuster films, performing motorcycle chases that reached 120 miles per hour, fight sequences that required months of choreography, and fall stunts from buildings that would have killed untrained performers. His specialty had been vehicle stunts and high-altitude work, and his perfect safety record had made him the first choice for directors who needed spectacular action sequences without risking star actors or production delays. But the stunt industry had changed dramatically in the mid-1990s with the rise of computer-generated effects that could create action sequences digitally rather than requiring real human performers to risk their lives. Studios had discovered that CGI was cheaper and safer than employing skilled stunt professionals, and older stunt doubles had found themselves increasingly replaced by younger performers or digital effects that eliminated human risk entirely. The movie theater job had been taken in 1999 as temporary work while Marcus figured out how to transition from stunt work to other employment, but 25 years later, he discovered unexpected satisfaction in maintaining spaces where people came to enjoy the kinds of action movies he'd once helped create, ensuring that audiences could safely experience the entertainment that had defined his professional life. The Tonight Show tickets had been a surprise retirement gift from the theater's management, and regular customers who had noticed that Marcus somehow prevented accidents and handled emergencies with professional expertise that went far beyond typical custodial training. It was a Wednesday night taping in March, and Jimmy was in good spirits after interviewing an action movie director about his new superhero film. During his commercial break interaction with the audience, his attention was drawn to Marcus by his obvious physical fitness and the way he moved with an athlete's controlled precision. Sir, you move like someone with serious athletic training. Are you in sports or fitness? Marcus straightened with the automatic posture of someone who had spent decades maintaining peak physical condition under demanding circumstances. Movie theater, Custodian, sir. Cineplex Theater, downtown. Been keeping the place clean and safe for 25 years, retiring next month. A warm murmur went through the nearby audience members. Movie theater workers were essential to the entertainment experience, and 25 years of maintaining public spaces deserved recognition. 25 years at a movie theater? You must have seen every action movie that's come out in the past quarter century. Marcus's face showed a hint of the professional interest that had never completely faded. Yes, sir, and it's been interesting watching how action sequences have changed over the years. Computer effects can create things that would have been impossible to film safely with real people. You talk about action sequences like someone with technical knowledge, very sophisticated understanding of how movie stunts work. Well, you learn to appreciate good stunt work when you understand what goes into creating those sequences safely. The coordination, the timing, the safety protocols. There's a lot of skill involved that audiences don't usually think about. Jimmy noticed something in Marcus's language, a professional understanding of stunt work that suggested experience beyond typical movie theater employment. Marcus, have you always worked at movie theaters? You seem to understand stunt work from the inside. Marcus paused, as if deciding how much of his background to reveal. Actually, I used to work in the movie industry before I started at the theater. Stunt work specifically. I was a stunt double for action movies back when they used real people instead of computer effects. The mention of professional stunt work caught the audience's attention immediately. Stunt performers were legendary figures who risked their lives to create the spectacular action sequences that defined Hollywood entertainment. You were a Hollywood stunt double, Marcus. That's incredible. What actors did you double for? Several of the major action stars in the 80s and 90s: Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Wesley Snipes, some others. I specialized in vehicle stunts and high altitude work, motorcycle chases, building jumps, fight sequences. Jimmy's curiosity exploded. Hollywood stunt doubles during the golden age of action cinema were legendary professionals who had created some of the most spectacular sequences in film history. And someone with that background, working as a movie theater janitor, suggested a fascinating story. Jimmy made a decision that would change everything. Marcus, Hollywood stunt work is legendary. Would you mind coming down here and telling us about your stunt career? Marcus looked uncertain. Oh, I don't think people want to hear about old stunt stories. That work was behind the scenes, and most stunt performers never get much recognition. Trust me, people definitely want to hear about stunt work from someone who did it at the highest level. Come on down. As Marcus made his way to the stage with the controlled movement of someone who had once performed death-defying feats on camera, his bearing transformed completely, the confident presence of someone who had once been trusted with the safety of multi-million-dollar productions and A-list actors. When he reached the stage, Jimmy guided him to a comfortable chair. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy announced, this is Marcus Washington. For 25 years, he's been maintaining movie theaters, but before that, he spent 17 years as a Hollywood stunt double for some of the biggest action stars in cinema. Marcus, tell us about your stunt career. Marcus settled into the chair, and when he spoke about stunt work, his voice took on the precision and intensity of someone who had mastered one of entertainment's most dangerous professions. Being a stunt double means you're responsible for creating spectacular action while keeping everyone safe. Yourself, the actors you're doubling, the crew filming the sequence. Every stunt has to look death-defying on camera, but be executed with absolute precision to prevent injuries. The audience was completely quiet, understanding they were hearing about the dangerous work that made action movies possible. What was your most challenging stunt? Marcus's eyes lit up with memories of sequences that still seemed impossible decades later. Probably the motorcycle to a helicopter transfer for one of Stallone's films. Had to ride a motorcycle at 90 miles per hour, hit a ramp, and grab onto a helicopter ladder while the bike crashed below. Took 3 months of rehearsal and safety planning. Would sound terrifying. Were you ever scared? Fear keeps you alive in stunt work, but you train until the movements become automatic, plan every safety detail, work with coordinators who've done thousands of stunts. The goal is to make it look spontaneous and dangerous while actually being as controlled and safe as possible. Jimmy reached behind his chair and pulled out a tablet loaded with film industry databases and stunt performer records. Marcus, we did some research before tonight's show. He showed Marcus archived film credits and stunt performer documentation. According to Hollywood stunt records, Marcus Steele Washington performed stunts for over 50 major action films and had a perfect safety record with 0 serious injuries. Marcus looked stunned. "You found my stunt records?" "We did. Listen to this from a stunt coordinator who worked with you. Steele Washington was one of the most professional and fearless stunt performers of his generation. His technical precision and safety awareness made him the first choice for directors who needed spectacular sequences without risking production delays or actor injury." The studio fell completely silent. The audience was processing that they were meeting someone who had risked his life to create the action sequences they'd watched in classic movies. "Marcus, you were clearly successful as a stunt performer. What happened? Why did you leave Hollywood?" Marcus's expression grew more reflective, touching on technological changes that had transformed the film industry. Computer-generated effects started replacing real stunt work in the mid-90s. Studios could create action sequences digitally that were safer and cheaper than employing stunt professionals. The work started disappearing for performers my age. That must have been difficult after 17 years in the business. It was like watching your profession become obsolete, but I understood the economics matched CGI was safer and gave directors more creative control. The physical skills that made me good at stunts had to find new applications. Jimmy leaned forward. "But you never stopped being a stunt performer, did you?" Marcus smiled for the first time since taking the stage. "The situational awareness and safety instincts never leave you. At the movie theater, I prevented dozens of accidents, slips, falls, people not watching where they're going. The same skills that kept me safe on movie sets helped me keep customers safe in the theater." Jimmy continued reading from the tablet. "Marcus, we found something else. Several stunt coordinators and action directors have been trying to locate you for consulting work on films that want to use practical effects instead of CGI. People want to hire me for stunt consulting." Listen to this from a current action director. "Marcus Washington represents the golden age of practical stunt work when real human skill created movie magic. His expertise will be invaluable for productions that want to return to authentic action sequences." Jimmy stood and addressed the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, this man spent 17 years creating the spectacular action sequences that defined 80s and 90s cinema, then spent 25 years using those same safety and precision skills to protect movie theater customers." He turned back to Marcus. "The film industry wants to honor you. The Stuntmen's Association wants to induct you into their Hall of Fame, and several production companies want to offer you consulting positions on action films." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "They want to honor my stunt work?" "They do, and Marcus, there's something else. Film schools are using footage of your stunts to teach students about practical effects in the craft of professional stunt performance." Jimmy had one more surprise. "We have someone here who wanted to meet you." From backstage, Chad Stahelski, director of the John Wick films and former stunt coordinator, appeared carrying a leather jacket and motorcycle helmet. "Marcus," Stahelski said, approaching with obvious respect, "I've been studying your stunt work since I started as a coordinator. Your motorcycle and high-altitude sequences set standards for safety and spectacle that we still try to achieve. You're one of the legends who proved that practical stunts could create movie magic that CGI can't replicate." Marcus was openly crying now, overwhelmed by recognition from the current generation of action filmmakers. "You know my stunt work. Every serious stunt coordinator knows Steele Washington. Your sequences are still studied as master classes in practical effects and safety planning. You show that stunt work was both an athletic and artistic discipline that required intelligence, courage, and technical precision." Jimmy sat back down beside Marcus. "Marcus, you've spent 25 years thinking your stunt career was history, but what you really did was continue using those same protective instincts and precision skills to keep people safe while your stunt innovations continued influencing how action sequences are created." As they helped Marcus back to his seat, he stopped and looked out at the audience one more time. Thank you for honoring my work, but I want young people to know the skills that make you successful in any field are transferable. Whether you're performing stunts or keeping a theater clean, the goal is the same: excellence, safety, and taking pride in work that serves other people's enjoyment. The episode that aired became one of the most exciting Tonight Show segments ever, sparking renewed interest in practical stunt work and the professionals who had risked their lives to create classic action cinema. Marcus's story inspired several major action directors to seek out experienced stunt performers for consulting and training roles, recognizing that their knowledge of practical effects was irreplaceable. His movie theater became an informal film education center where he taught young people about the craft and the history of stunt performance. Marcus spent his retirement consulting on action films that wanted to incorporate practical stunts and teaching stunt safety at film schools while occasionally helping with theater maintenance during busy periods, discovering that leaving active stunt work hadn't ended his contribution to entertainment. It had evolved his mission to protect and educate the next generation. At 72, Marcus still moves with a stunt performer's precision and awareness, still believes that spectacular achievements require meticulous safety planning, and still carries his stunt coordinator credentials alongside his theater employee badge, a reminder that true professionals never stop protecting others, whether on movie sets or in theaters where families come to enjoy the entertainment that legends like him help create. Is because sometimes the most important stunts aren't the ones that make it into movies, but the ones that happen every day when former action heroes use their skills to keep ordinary people safe, one carefully prevented accident at a time.